Welcome everyone to this new session of microwave engineering, which is a continuation of first module, Introduction to Microwaves. In the last session, we have got introduced to scattering parameters. Now in this session, we will see how scattering parameters exhibit certain nature for certain networks. And then finally, we will calculate S parameters for a simple two-port network. So before going to discuss the properties, let's recall the two types of two-port networks, that is reciprocal and lossless. What is a reciprocal network? A reciprocal network is that network or is that two-port network in which if we apply a current at port 1, it would generate a voltage at port 2 which will be of same value if we apply current at port 2 that would generate a voltage at port 1. That means even if we change the port for applying the input, then it doesn't make any difference to the behavior of the network. So both voltages will be same. Even if we reverse the situation, the voltage that we get will be same. So port 1 and port 2 are interchangeable. For example, this is our two-port network. It doesn't matter whether you apply input here or here. The network will behave in the same way. That is the meaning of reciprocity. Usually such reciprocal network contain non-reciprocal media such as ferrites or plasma or active devices. Passive devices do not exhibit reciprocal nature. The next type of network is lossless network. As the name suggests, it doesn't incur any kind of power loss within the network. So whatever power we apply to the network, entire power will be delivered to the load. Therefore, net real power delivered to the network is zero. Net real power delivered to the network is zero, not to the load. Entire power will get transferred to the load. So that is a lossless network. Both these types of network exhibit certain nature while calculating S parameters. We will see them. So what is the first property of S parameter? For a perfectly matched network, diagonal elements are 0. So what is a perfectly matched network? For a perfectly matched network, if let's say this is a port 2 of a two-port network, here if we apply a load impedance, the value of this load impedance will be equal to characteristic impedance of a network, that is Z0. So because of this, entire power or maximum power will get transferred to the load impedance and therefore zero loss within the network. And therefore the diagonal elements, that is S11, S22, these will be 0. So for perfectly matched network, diagonal elements are 0 in case of perfectly matched network. Then second property is a symmetry for a reciprocal network. Now if a microwave junction or two-port network satisfies the reciprocity condition, what is reciprocity condition? That we have just discussed for a reciprocal network. And if there are no active devices, then S parameter are equal to their corresponding transposes. So you can interchange the rows and columns of a network. That is Sij is equal to Sji, which results in S is equal to S transpose. Okay, so that is the second property of scattering parameters or scattering matrix as a whole. Then third property is a unitary property of lossless network. Now this is very important because this reduces the calculation in terms of analyzing a microwave two-port network. So if a network is lossless, then for such lossless network, the sum of product of each term of any one row or any one column of S matrix multiplied by its complex conjugate is unity. So let's see what is the meaning of this. Let's see, let's say this is our S matrix which has a S11, S12, S21 and S22. And what is the meaning of unitary property? Now what does the statement says? The sum of product. So it is having sum equal to 1 of which terms? Product of each term of any one row. Let's take row instead of column right now. First row, product of S11 with its conjugate. S11 into S11 conjugate. And similarly, continuing with the same first row, that is this one, plus S12 into S12 conjugate. That will be equal to 1. So meaning of this statement unitary property is that S11 into S11 conjugate plus S12 into S12 conjugate equal to 1. You can apply same thing for the column also. So what will be the statement in case of column? Let's see that. Let's consider first column. So S11 plus S11 conjugate plus, sorry, S11 into S11 conjugate plus S21 into S21 conjugate is equal to 1. Now important thing about this property is that if we change the row or column, that is S11 into S11 conjugate plus, if we get S12 into S21 instead of the same parameter, if I take, let's say, S12 here, then this answer would be 0. That is important to consider. So important is considering the row or a column. Take anyone. The sum of these terms will be equal to 1. Okay, so this is a unitary property. So how can we put the mathematical equation for this particular equation? So mathematical condition is summation of Sni into Sni conjugate for small n goes from 1 to capital N is equal to 1. So that means any row or any column, sum of the products will be equal to 1. I hope you have understood this, because this will be very useful in calculation of S parameters of a network. Now let's move to the last property, that is phase shift property. Now what is the phase shift property? If any of the kth terminal or a reference plane or a port is moved away from the junction, that is two-port network, by an electrical distance of beta L, each of the coefficient Sij involving kth port will be multiplied by the factor e raised to minus j beta k lk. What is the meaning of this one? Let's consider a two-port network. Here usually there are two terminals where we apply the input signal. Now if we move this away from the network, physically away from the network, and put it here, how it would affect the S parameters of the network. So this will definitely affect our S parameters. How they will affect? Let's say this is the distance, physical distance L by which the terminals are moved away. So this L is a physical distance and the electrical distance will be beta L. So if we move away by electrical distance beta L, then the S terms or scattering parameters which are involved for this particular side of a network should be multiplied by the factor e raised to minus j beta k lk. K is a port which is in consideration. Now, which parameters are associated with this one? This is A1 and this is B1. So this is S12 because S12 is nothing but B1 upon A2. So B1 is involved in this one. And this is S21 because S21 is nothing but B2 upon A1. So A1 is also here. So these two will be affected because of this shifting of terminal from its original position to a electrical distance beta L. So what will be S matrix looking like? So S matrix will look like this one. In this case, we are considering a matched condition, perfectly matched network. So diagonal elements S11 and S22 are 0 and S12 and S21 are now multiplied by e raised to minus j phi. Phi is equal to beta L. Okay, so this is the fourth property that is called as phase shift property of S parameters. So we can summarize some of the properties. For reciprocal networks, Sij is equal to Sji because it satisfies the transpose condition for S matrix. And for lossless reciprocal network, diagonal elements are equal. For matched lossless reciprocal network, diagonal elements will be 0. And the second term that we have mentioned here, this particular, it is nothing but unitary property because here we are considering only magnitude. So S11 mod of S11 square is nothing but S11 multiplied by S11 conjugate is nothing but mod of S11 square. So sum of rows of a scattering matrix is equal to 1. That is what second statement is given in this particular summary. Okay, so you can write unitary property in this equation also, but this is for just two-port network. So in general terms, you can write the previous statement which was shown during the third property of the S parameters. So these are the properties of S parameter. Now let's move on to evaluation sum of the scattering parameters. Now on your screen you can see one example. This question was asked for 5 marks in the December 2019 microwave engineering exam of Mumbai University. Find the scattering parameters for the 3 dB attenuator circuit shown in the figure. Assume Z0 to be 50 ohm. Z0 is nothing but characteristic impedance. As you can see, there are 3 resistors involved. 2 of them having value 8.56 ohm and 1 of them having 141.8 ohms. Port 1 and port 2 is shown. Now we have to calculate S parameters for this particular network. It is a attenuator. Now as you can see, it's a two-port network, so our S matrix will be of 2 by 2 size. S11, S12, S21 and S22. Now how to calculate this? So first thing, while looking at this network, we can see 8.56 ohm is Z1, let's say. Z2 is 141.8 ohm and third resistor is also of 8.56 ohm. So the geometry of a network is symmetrical. So we can say that this is a symmetrical network. Okay, so let's see how it is useful in calculation. So S11 can be found as a reflection coefficient that we have seen in the last session. S11 and S22 are the reflection coefficients. S11 in particular is a reflection coefficient at port 1 when port 2 is terminated to a matched load Z0. Now this is a matched network as well. Okay, so S11 formula is V1 minus upon V1 plus, that is nothing but B1 upon A1. B1 is nothing but V1 minus and A1 is nothing but V1 plus when A2 is equal to 0. A2 is V2 plus. Okay, so that is denoted by reflection coefficient gamma at V2 plus is equal to 0. Now when you don't have a voltages given to you, you can calculate reflection coefficient using uh, impedances of a network, Zin and characteristic impedance, that is input impedance and characteristic impedance. So reflection coefficient can be given as, this is very important formula, this particular reflection coefficient is equal to Zin at port 1, that's why there is a superscript 1 for Zin minus Z0 upon Zin plus Z0 when Z0 is on port 2. This is important, Z0 should be on port 2 for input reflection coefficient. So for we know what is the value of Z0, we have to calculate value of Zin. So how to calculate value of Zin? Now to this network I can connect a load of Z0. So what will be Zin? You can use a simple network analysis for calculation of input impedance of this network. This Z0 is in series with 8.56 ohm. So total resistance will be 58.56, and then that 58.56 resistance would be parallel with 141.8 ohm. Whatever answer comes of that parallel combination, we have to add that to the 8.56 as a series combination. That will give us the value of Zin. So let's see how to calculate S11. Zin is equal to, as I said, 8.56, which was first resistor Z1, plus parallel combination of 141.8 into, or parallel combination of 141.8 with the series combination of 8.56 and 50 ohm. This is series combination of 8.56 and 50 ohm. It is in parallel with 141.8. The answer, if you calculate this, you can calculate at your own pace. If you calculate it, it comes as equal to 50 again. So that means the input impedance is also 50 and characteristic impedance is also 50. So that proves that we have a matched network, and that's why for perfectly matched network S11 will be 0, because formula for S11 is, in the previous slide we have seen Zin minus Z0 upon Zin plus Z0. So 50 minus 50 upon 50 plus 50, that is 0 upon 100, that is 0. So this is nothing but 50 minus 50 upon 50 plus 50. So that will be 0. So S11 was found to be 0. So our actual property that is proved here. Because of symmetry, as we have seen, the network exhibits a symmetrical structure. As we know, S11 is just found out to be 0. Now S22 is also 0 because of symmetrical property. We can say that. Now we have to find S12 and S21. So how to find S21? S21's formula is given as S21 is equal to V2 minus upon V1 plus, because S21 is equal to B2 upon A1. What is B2? It is V2 minus. What is A1? That is V1 plus. When V2 plus is equal to 0. So from the fact that S11 and S22 are 0, we can know that V1 minus is 0. How it is? Just seen S11 is equal to V1 minus upon V1 plus. Now this term S11 is 0. So I can write 0 instead of S11. So that means V1 minus will become 0, because this V1 plus goes to the left hand side and V1 minus becomes 0 when port 2 is terminated with Z0, obviously, and that V2 plus is equal to 0. Now how V2 plus is 0? Now if you recall, V2 plus is a incident wave on the port 2. V2 plus is a incident wave on the port 2. But we are matching the port 2 with the characteristic impedance of Z0, load of a characteristic impedance of Z0. That means there is no incident wave. If there is no incident wave, V2 becomes 0. V2 plus becomes 0, no incident wave on port 2. In such case, we have incident wave on port 1 as a V1, that is our input signal of port 1, and V2 minus, sorry, here it is not clearly displayed, and V2 minus is equal to V2. So V1 plus is equal to V1, and V2 minus, which will be in this direction, will be equal to output voltage, that is V2, because the V2 minus is nothing but reflected wave on the second port, which is nothing but our output voltage. So considering all these conditions, we can find V2 minus as a, let's say this is our output side of a network. So our output voltage is nothing but V2 minus. This is V2. Now how to find out this V2? By simple voltage divider rule. Voltage divider rule states that this is V1, which is applied to the network. Now we have to consider the resistance over here, that is 41.44, and here it is 8.56, that was the third resistor in the original network. Here 8.56 and here it is 41.44. How it is 41.44? Let's see that. Where 41.44 is a resistance of a parallel combination of 50 ohm load and 8.56 resistor with 141.8 ohm resistor. This we have calculated in the previous steps here. This is we have calculated. So because of that, 41.44 is a value of parallel combination of 141.8 with the series combination of 50 and 8.56 resistor. So if I have to draw it, this is my 8.56, this is 50 ohm, and this is 141.8. This is 50, this is 8.56, this is 141.8. So this parallel combination will result in 41.44. So use this 41.44 to find out V2. So V2 can be calculated using voltage divider rule, 50 upon 50 plus 8.56. 50 we have calculated this. This is 41.44 plus 8.56, that is 50 divided by 50 plus 8.56. So that gives us value of V2 minus upon V1 plus is equal to S21 is equal to 0.707. Here you can see V2 minus is equal to 0.707 V1. If we take V1 back onto the left hand side, it becomes V2 minus upon V1. V1 is nothing but V1 plus, and V2 minus upon V1 plus is nothing but S21. So we have found out S21 as 0.707. Sorry. So S21 is 0.707, and as we have seen, it is a symmetrical network. So S12 is also 0.707 because it is diagonal elements. So our answer would be S11 and S22 will be 0, and S12 and S21 will be 0.707. So we have used properties of scattering parameters for calculation of simple S parameters of simple two-port network. So I hope you have understood this. This is how we can calculate S parameters using the properties. Okay. So before going to the next session, that is study of different components of used in the microwave communication circuits. We have seen this transmission line introduction in the first video. What is a transmission line? It's a two conductor system which is able to guide electrical energy from one point to another. In this diagram you can see These are the two conductors, this one and this one. Here we are applying source and here there is a load. The examples of such transmission lines are coax cables, waveguides and microstrip lines. Now which one to use out of this, that we are going to study. So these are some of the examples. This is a coax cable, microstrip line and circular waveguide. Different types of components used in the two-port networks of microwave communication circuits. We will see the details of all these components in the upcoming sessions. Now one major point is which one to choose. So early microwave systems relied on waveguides or two-wire systems or coax cables for transmission. Each one had their advantage and disadvantage associated with it. For example, for waveguides, it had a high power handling capability, but at the same time low loss. But they were bulky also and expensive, and that was not desirable. Too much expensive for such low frequencies waveguides were. Whereas two wire lines, that is transmission lines, may be inexpensive but they lacked shielding, so interference issues were too many. Then if we talk about coaxial cables or lines, they were shielded but they were difficult to fabricate in microwave components. So each one had advantages and disadvantages. In terms of transmission line, if we consider planar transmission lines like microstrip lines, slot lines, coplanar waveguides, and several other types, they provided a good alternative to all these types. Now, detailed discussion of this one will be in the next session. Such transmission lines were compact, which was good for fabricating microwave components. Also, they were very cheap and capable of being easily integrated with active devices also, such as diodes and transistors, because we want to create ICs for microwave communication. So planar transmission lines will be the point of discussion in the upcoming session. Now, one important aspect while studying them, which type of transmission mode do they support? In the electromagnetic engineering, we have studied different transmission modes like TE waves, TE mode, TM mode, and TEM mode. The two conductor system support TEM mode, that is transverse electromagnetic waves. In this particular mode, both electric and magnetic fields are perpendicular, that is transfer, to the direction of propagation. So if this is x, this is y, and this is z, if wave is propagating in this direction, electrical field may be in this direction and magnetic field may be in this particular direction. So it is a guided wave between these two conductors. So E and H both are transverse to direction of propagation. Hence the radiation losses are minimized. Because of this, there are very much less losses in case of microwave transmission. The detailed study of this strip line, microstrip line and coplanar lines will be in the upcoming session. That's all for today. If you have any queries, don't forget to comment in the replies section. Thank you.